Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This message is for Muslims. It is not necessarily for our non-Muslim brothers and sisters. While you are free to comment and you are free to see this video, of course, but the message, it's not necessarily for you. It is for our Muslim brothers and sisters. Muslims, what's the state of your marriage? Is your marriage an honest one? Is it an open one? And when I say open, I don't mean sexually open, but is it open to criticism? Is it open whereas you, the two spouses involved, can sit down with each other and have an open discussion or have serious discussions without it leading to an argument or a fight? If the answer is yes, then you're good to go. But if the answer is no, then you need to continue watching. Now, women, Muslim women, can your husband approach you on the subject of polygamy without it being an argument or a fight? Muslim men, can you approach your women about the question of polygamy if you have the desire to be with another woman, another wife, another female? Can you approach your wife about this without it being a problem, without it being an argument, or without it being a fight in the end? It is my hope that after we are finished this video, that we can rectify that problem. Because the truth be told, most marriages, the men are afraid to approach their women, even though they may have the desire to do such, meaning to marry a second or a third wife. Because in some cases, men were told even before the marriages begun that they cannot take another wife. And some cases, the women have made it very clear that they are not interested in another wife being there. Here is another interesting fact. Some women would have come in as a second or even a third wife, but if it so happens that their position got moved up to, let's say, the first wife or the second wife, then they start making demands that no one else comes in. This also happens. Yes, it happens in the Muslim community. So let's go to the Holy Quran, this book here, and we will try to figure out and rectify that problem and that issue. This is the Holy Quran with the English translation, done by the famous, notable, and world-renowned scholar, Dr. Abdullah Yusuf Ali. In this book, you will find the Arabic and the English translation side by side to each other. This book, the Holy Quran, brings finality to any dispute that we as Muslims may have. If we disagree between ourselves, this book is what we refer to. We accept this book as God's word, and therefore it is the final chapter of any disagreements that we as Muslims may have. So now let's go to what the Holy Quran says about polygamy. We are going to read from chapter 4, which is called Al-Nisa, or in English it is the woman. And we're going to read from from verses 3. So chapter 4, verse 3 of the Holy Quran. And it reads in part, "Marry women of your choice, 2 or 3 or 4. But if ye fear that ye shall not be able to deal justly with them, then marry only one." I think that is self-explanatory. Marry 2 or 3 or 4. But if ye fear that you will not deal justly with them, then marry 1. What we have seen here is the taking of 1 wife becomes the lesser part of the sunnah. All of it is acceptable. To marry 1 wife, if that's what you choose to do, it is absolutely acceptable and okay. And also it is okay to marry 2 or 3 or 4. And if you notice here, God has commanded that you marry beginning with 2, not 1. Not 1. Beginning with 2. Marry 2. It begins with 2, 3 or 4. But if you fear, in other words, if you're not capable of doing what is right amongst your wives, then it is better for you to take the lesser part of the sunnah, that which you can handle, 1 wife. But if you can handle more than 1 wife, then you shall begin with 2, 3, or 4. So it is a command to marry more than 1 wife. It is not a command to marry 1. 1 is the last of the 4 options. But we have twisted everything around and turned it upside down, and we now have used 1 as the first option. But God says 2 or 3 or 4, and 1 being the last of the 4 options. So my Muslim brothers and sisters, this book has made it clear, and we are all invited to reassess our relationships that we have and read this book carefully. You can read this book carefully and get the meaning and the answers to our lives. Chances are our lives will be more fruitful, and most of all, for you, my sisters, my Muslim sisters, you should like for your sister what you like for yourselves. That is my specific message to my sisters. And to you, my brothers, do not be afraid to practice the sunnah as ordained by Allah to the best of your ability. Now, as I'm going to close this video, marrying 2, 3, or 4 women should not be predicated upon how much money you have in the bank, how many credit cards you can issue to your wives, how many spending spree you can give to them, how many houses you may have spread it out throughout the earth, how many cars and stuff like that. It is not based on that. Mind you, we must and should provide for our wives and children. We must protect them and we must provide for them. That is a fact. But the real reason behind being married to multiple wives is that we must be just. We must do justice amongst them, because if we don't do justice, if we take the women and we don't do justice with them, then Allah will call us into account for our misdeeds. So brothers, go ahead and practice the sunnah. Sisters, go ahead and practice the sunnah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.